There have been 2 instances in Vancouver, Washington, and Portland, Oregon, of ballot boxes, the drop boxes, being burned. In fact, there's video that came out yesterday. Look at this. This is video of an official ballot drop box, and I don't know if this is Vancouver, Washington, or Portland, Oregon, but those are ballots. Those are ballots. People shoved their ballots in the drop boxes. Somebody drove by in a dark-colored sedan. We have a photo of it, and they lit the box on fire. So the police came, the fire department came, they cracked open the box, and they're now extinguishing the flames. And those are all that's people's voices right there being torched. That's people who have made their decision for president. They threw it in the ballot box, and it's being torched. Now I know what you're thinking. But Mark Kaye, they told us that ballot boxes and drop boxes were totally safe. They told us that this was a secure election. They told us that if you drop your ballot in a ballot box, nothing's going to happen to it. If you get a drop box ballot and you put it in there, it's going to be, first of all, there's going to be no cheating. Second of all, there's no way for anybody to dump multiple ballots or, act like a mule, if you will, for other folks. And then, of course, once you put it in the box, it's going to be counted. You have no fear, have no fear of that. But here in Vancouver, Washington, and in Portland, Oregon, that's not the case. And I don't know if they're going to be able to figure out whose ballots these are. I don't know if they're going to be able to figure out, okay, well, these things are charred. Look at that. Those are ashes right there. So many of those are going to be indecipherable. You're not going to be able to figure out whose ballots were lost to the flames and whose ballots remain. Those are cremated, man. Those are cremated hopes and dreams. And I have to imagine that because A, it's in Portland, Oregon and Vancouver, Washington, and B, because it's a drop box, which Republicans avoid like the plague, I have to imagine the majority of those are Kamala Harris votes. You would think. It's a really interesting story. It's a really interesting theme. So the moral of this story, of course, is that while voting early is important, and it is important, it's very important. It's important that you vote early. It's important that you bank your ballot. It's important that you get in there and you let everybody know, I'm a Republican, I'm voting for Donald Trump, and I'm doing it early. We need to make sure that we stack the deck and that going into Election Day, we're not coming from behind. No one wants to come from behind. And trust me, I'm a Jaguars fan. It never works out. But you always want to have that. You always want to have that solid first half victory so that you can cruise all the way through Election Day. And we saw what happened in 2020. That wasn't the case. And so now in 2024, Donald Trump, Laura Trump, Michael Whatley, the entire Republican National Committee, everybody's like, early vote. Get out there and early vote. Don't wait until the very last minute. And whatever you do, make sure you're early voting in person because you don't want your ballot to get barbecued. That's the new thing. They're barbecuing the ballots. They're eating the dogs. They're eating the cats. They're barbecuing the ballots. No word on who's responsible for this or why they did it, but it is really an interesting turn of events. I would have expected this, in maybe a more conservative area, but definitely not those Democrat strongholds of Portland, Oregon, and Vancouver, Washington. Speaking of blue strongholds, there's something that happened on CNN yesterday, and CNN, CNN, it's a really interesting network because they have been a mouthpiece for the Biden administration, for the Democrat Party for a very long time. They were the first, I would say, news network to grab onto the conspiracy theories against Donald Trump and treat them like they're news. They were the first to report on the Steele dossier, for example. They pushed the Russia collusion hoax. They were proponents of Donald Trump's impeachment, both of them. They've made false statements that have never gone unchecked. They've just can basically say whatever. Don Lemon literally got onto his set one day when he still had a show, and he said the president of the United States is a racist. That's how he opened his show. That was news back then. That was news. CNN made this bed. They decided that they were going to lay down with dogs. They had Brian Stelter, who was on the air with Jen Psaki, Peppermint Psaki, when she was the White House press secretary. And Brian Stelter said, how better can we, the media, serve you, Jen Psaki? What more can we do for you? And that guy got fired, but now he's back. So CNN really hasn't changed all that much. Well, they like to do these roundtables. They like to do these clickbaity sessions. And they had Mehdi Hassan, who is about as left-wing and extremist as you can get. And this guy named, what's his name? Ryan. Hang on, I have his name right here. Or Ryan Girdusky. Ryan Girdusky, Ryan Girdusky is the token conservative on the panel. I'm not overly familiar with him. I don't know. I mean, I've read a little bit about him. I don't know that he's overly conservative. He's certainly not like a conservative voice that is speaking for the RNC or the Trump campaign. I think he's just a conservative who weaseled his way onto CNN. But man, he got in it with Mehdi Hassan. And after he said this, CNN has barred him, kicked him off the panel, and barred him from their network for life. Listen to what happened last night on CNN.
If you don't want to be called Nazis, stop doing.
You're called an anti-Semite. You've been called an anti-Semite more than anyone else's table.
Yeah.
And people will sit there and no, by me. I never called you an anti-Semite. Okay. I mean, I'm not sitting here saying
I'm a supporter of the Palestinians. So I'm used to it.
Yeah. I hope your beeper doesn't go off. The thing is that
you just say I should die.
You should not.
No,
did you just say I should be killed?
No, I did not say that. No, I did not say that.
Hold on.
Now, okay, so basically what's happening is the conservative and the socialist are arguing back and forth, and the socialist calls the conservative a Nazi, which typically happens. Then this guy, Ryan Sidursky, says, when he says, look, I'm pro-Palestinian, he goes, I hope your beeper doesn't go off, which is a reference to the attack by Israel on Hamas when they hacked into the pagers, whatever, and they all exploded and people were killed and all that kind of stuff. And that was it, man. That was it. That was the final straw for that was CNN, just everybody losing their mind.
Did your guest just say I should be killed on live TV?
I said I hope
Guys, let me just stop.
You said you hope my beeper doesn't go off.
Because you sound a big supporter
of the Palestinians.
Of Hamas?
Guys, let me stop.
Palestinians.
Are you?
Am I what? No, of course I'm not.
I apologize.
Are you a racist, violent person inciting violence against me?
Ryan,
that's disgusting.
that is completely.
I apologize.
Good job, CNN. Let's have first block say the Muslim guy should be blown up on TV.
Don't say then I apologize. You literally.
I thought you said Hamas.
You didn't think I said Hamas. I said I supported Palestinian rights.
Yes, I did.
Why? Because when you hear
what's funny
Palestinian,
is Rudy Giuliani said this yesterday, so you're a great guest to be here.
So this is it's utter chaos, man. It's CNN. They're basically now destroying themselves. They got one of the most, I guess you would say, firebrand, unhinged, liberal, socialist, Democrat crazies, Mehdi Hassan, to come onto their network. And then they got this conservative guy, Ryan Sidursky, to come on, and they started talking about Donald Trump's rally, and they started talking about Hitler and Nazism, and then all of a sudden, it just explodes into this whole, well, you're a Nazi, well, you're Hamas, no, I'm not, well, I hope your beeper doesn't go off, and then it was just over. So they couldn't control. The host lost control. The guests were totally it went on for like 3 minutes.
All right.
Defend Rudy Giuliani.
I wasn't going to entertain nonsense today, and so at this point,
this is what we're in now. This is America in 2024.
Here's what I will say.
Forget the racism.
That's right.
It's I should
That's
die.
right.
I didn't say that. You said
die. What does beeper mean? Don't give me your fake ignorance.
I did not say you should die.
Why did you say with my beeper go off?
What did you mean?
What did you mean by the beeper?
So what did you mean?
What did you mean by the beeper? No, you didn't. You said, I hope your beeper doesn't go off.
Ryan, stop talking.
At least have the guts to support your racist comment.
Hang on.
I'm so sorry.
Let her bring it back.
This is why yesterday's rally was disgusting.
Don't call us
look at that. Donald Trump had absolutely nothing to do with this, by the way. But that woman on the panel is like, guys, listen, I know you called him a Nazi, and I know you said something about his pager, which is insinuating he's a member of Hamas. This is why Donald Trump's rally was so disgusting. Neither of these guys were there. This has absolutely nothing to do with Donald Trump's rally. This has everything to do with CNN creating inflammatory rhetoric and putting it on the air and pushing propaganda that they know is not true. This has everything to do with CNN lying about Donald Trump and making up stories about Donald Trump and his supporters and insulting them and calling them names and likening them to Nazis and Nazi rallies and bringing on characters like this whose only goal it is to try to get people to hate other people. And now all of a sudden they're like, oh my gosh, we have to ban this guy Ryan Sidursky from our network. Why? Well, because he said something that was racially motivated and angry and hateful. Well, so does everyone else on your network. Yes, but he said it about one of us. He's got to go. He has no place here. The conservatives can't say anything like that's our job. We can call them Nazis every day of the week, but if they make any comment about us and our pagers going off, they're banned for life. That's what went on CNN yesterday. And, you know, it all comes from the top. Like, this doesn't happen on Fox News. This doesn't happen on Newsmax. And I know because, well, we'll have Bianca Della Garza on in just a minute. But this stuff doesn't happen on other news networks that aren't as vitriol-filled and left-leaning and totally biased and working in conjunction with the Democrat Party to stop Donald Trump at any and all costs. This comes exactly from the Kamala Harris campaign. It comes from the top down. Barack Obama, Joe Biden, the DNC, they're pushing out hatred. They want you not to have any kind of conversation about real issues. They want you to just hate Donald Trump, hate Republicans, and they're going to do and say anything they can to make that happen. Fun fact, the more they try to make it happen, the less it happens. And Donald Trump mentioned that again also in his press conference this morning.
So I'm running on a plan to save America. We're going to save America. We have no choice. It's the greatest there is. We love it, and we're going to save it. We have no choice. And it's going to be saving it from the incredible destruction that's been caused by crooked Joe Biden and Kamala. And she's responsible because he wasn't responsible, and she never said that. He didn't know too much about what was happening. Maybe that was exposed during the debate. And yet still the way they took that away from him was not right. It wasn't right. Shouldn't have happened that way. They walked in, they said, we're taking it away. They stole the presidency of the United States. You can call it a coup, you can call it whatever, but they stole it. They went in like taking candy from a baby. And can't have that. And she's running on a campaign of demoralization and really a campaign of destruction. But really, perhaps more than anything else, it's a campaign of hate. A campaign of absolute hate.
It is. That's a great way to put it. It's a campaign of hate. It's a campaign of hate that the Democrats push, and they will do anything they can to try to turn any Republican into a supervillain and make any Democrat look like a shining star. And the hatred that they spew and that they put out there and that they tell you. I mean, how many times have we seen Tim Walz? What was it Tim Walz said yesterday? I try not to listen to the guy that often, but Tim Walz said something yesterday. Let me look it up here real quick. Yesterday, he said that, Donald Trump has descended into madness.
Donald Trump has descended into madness over the last few weeks. And I think some of you don't miss on this. Go do your Google on this. Donald Trump's got this big rally going at Madison Square Garden.
Yeah.
There's a direct parallel to a big rally that happened in the mid-1930s at Madison Square Garden.
Yeah, the Nazi rally. We know all about that. But he said Donald Trump has descended into madness. Why? Because he went to New York City? Because a Republican decided that he was going to try to make a play for New York, which he can do. I mean, the guy's from New York. He grew up in New York. He built New York. He helped New Yorkers like Chuck Schumer get elected. He probably helped Hillary Clinton get elected in New York State. So you're telling me now that Donald Trump going back to New York and saying, hey, guys, come to Madison Square Garden and let's talk about politics. That is Donald Trump descending into madness. And yet Donald Trump and the Republicans are the ones that are using this campaign of hatred.